Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, all our viewers. Begin in Asia, big news with TSMC, the Taiwanese chip maker, announcing, actually, they've already inaugurated it over the weekend on Saturday. Look at the size of this thing. It's a chip plant in Japan, Japan Advanced Semiconductor Manufacturing. So, you know, there's already a TSMC, of course, in Taiwan. That's a JSSM. They broke ground in April of 2022. And this thing is already set to begin production in the fourth quarter. That's the founder there of TSMC. He was speaking at the inauguration ceremony. Also, the Japan's deputy director of IT. He spoke to Bloomberg. Hisashi Kasani. There he is. He was speaking. He went on Bloomberg to talk about the investment, what it means for for Japan in terms of the chip race and how semiconductors are going to power vehicles. They're going to power refrigerators, televisions, and everything else. So there's a big race. COVID disrupted a lot of this with the supply chain issues. So there's a massive race, and they're going to be giving a lot of subsidies. If you take a look at some of the details, the plant cost about $8 billion. They are planning another 2 of them, total amount about $20 billion. Japan has already given them about $3 billion in subsidies. They're providing another $4 billion more in subsidies. And again, as I said, production is going to begin in the fourth quarter of this year, the Japan Advanced Semiconductor Manufacturing Plant. So it's a big deal that happened over the weekend. We move, I think, to the UK, where executives in the UK are looking to get higher pay because of competition with the United States. So Julia Hoggett, who is the CEO of the London Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, she has been pushing for higher pay for corporate executives. Of course, you know that the UK, very blue collar, it's an election year. You know how the public feels about corporate executives getting big pay packages. But a lot of them, I mean, you had companies going to the US to go and list. If you take a look at the pay disparity between the US and the UK, your average S&P 500 executive in 2022 was paid $16.7 million. This pay ratio is the ratio of the chief executive's pay to the average employee. It's 272 to 1. So that means the executive is getting his salary or her salary is 272 times larger than the average employee. For the UK, it's 3.9 million pounds. You can update that to like $4.2 million. So it's like several times lower. And then their average pay ratio is 80 to 1. But then there's the issue of public sentiment, which a particular executive spoke to, saying that one of the issues why they've not been able to raise pay, I think his name is Mark Bread, one of the reasons why they haven't been able to raise pay is because of the fact that public sentiment has been going against it. But he made an example with Marcus Rashford, saying, I think we have the quotes, I'm not sure if we do, but he says that essentially we have issues with chief executives in the UK. Okay, yeah, there he is. Chief executives in the UK making 3 million. So he says it is considered outrageous for a chief executive in the UK to earn £3 million, but it's absolutely fine if Marcus Rashford earns £350,000 a week, which over a 38-week Premier League season comes out to about 13 or 14 million pounds. From there, I think we go to Turkey. A very interesting article I read in the Economist about Turkey's scripted television. They are apparently the 3rd largest exporters of scripted TV series after the US and after the United Kingdom. These are some shows that they were talking about, some Turkish dramas that are apparently even more popular than Korean dramas. And even though I thought India was the top one, but very, very popular. These are just some examples of shows that they talked about. But essentially, demand for Turkish scripted TV climbed about 184% between 2020 and 2023. Apparently, Spain and a couple other countries in Europe are the biggest importers. But according to the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce, it amounted to about $600 million in 2022 exports for Turkey. And when I think of Turkey, I think of tourism. I think of this Ankara material that a lot of folks use to sew. But this is your example of a diversified economy where you're making up to $600 million a year in exporting scripted television. We go to Egypt and the UAE. The UAE is going to invest up to $35 billion in a Mediterranean, in a port city for Egypt. The moment this thing was announced, this was like, I think on Friday, a real estate company quickly put out this video. Check it out. So, of course, Egypt's just blessed with its coastal location. You know what the Suez Canal contributes to Egypt's economy. And so that is the UAE going to invest almost 35 billion in that region over the course of like the next number of years. Javier Milei, again, I saw the former Vice President Atiku's post on Milei. Perhaps he was watching our analysis on Friday, but at the Conservative Political Action Conference, Donald Trump praised Milei. Milei apparently flew there to watch Trump. Here's Trump shouting him out.
We have a tremendous group of dignitaries, leaders, world leaders, and local leaders, but we have from all over the world people with us right now at this moment in the room. And I'll just mention a few. President of Argentina, who's gotten a lot of publicity. He's gotten a lot. He's a great gentleman. You know, he's MAGA. He's MAGA. Make Argentina great again. It's true. No, and he said, I am MAGA. And then I realized he's one of the few who can really do it well. Make Argentina great again. Javier Milei. Thank you very much, Javier. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to have him with.
All right, now another thing, when we talk about this, it's just amazing the similarities between Argentina and Nigeria. Milei has apparently, I don't know if it will pass, but he has put forward a bill to penalize ways and means. So he essentially has put forward a bill that penalizes the central bank over in Argentina for funding the treasury. Just like Nigeria, the treasury in Argentina, the central bank in Argentina has been printing money in order to support the government. So whether or not it passes, it doesn't have full support in parliament, but he's put forward the bill. He says, listen, if you don't have the money to fund treasury, then you just have to find something, but we're going to end printing money. Speaking of central banks, so we've got, of course, the Monetary Policy Committee here in Nigeria. Olayemi Cardozo's first MPC meeting since taking over September of last year. Well, of course, we all expect a rate hike. But beyond that, I found it very interesting. There's going to be apparently an investor call that is going to be taking place with the CBN and the NGX. So I hear it was pushed back to Thursday. It's a foreign portfolio investor call. Should the CBN be doing this? I threw this question to Johnson Chukwu. This is the Group Chief Executive Officer of Carry Asset Management. Here's what he said.
I don't think it's the role of the central bank to go and start scouting for investors. It's clearly not their role. I think it's a misnomer that the central bank, whose primary duty is maintain price stability, manage the financial system stability, ensure that price levels are stable, and as the U.S. Federal Reserve also includes supporting stable economic growth or economic growth. Those are the primary roles of the central bank. The duty of attracting investors into an economy is that of the Federal Minister of Trade, Federal Minister in charge of Trade and Investment, and other executive arms of government. It's not the monetary authority that should do that. But we have been dealing with this misnomer for quite some time. If you remember right from the time of the Lamidi Sanusi, it was the central bank that went even to the extent of building hostels in the universities. And then, in the immediate past, CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, the Federal Central Bank was actively involved in lending to all sorts of activities, anchor borrowers program, commercial credit, agricultural credit scheme, and what have you. They were funds meant for several entities, including the entertainment industry. So we have been living with a situation where the central bank goes beyond its primary call of duty to get involved in what should ordinarily remain the primary purview of the fiscal authorities. But ideally, it's your Minister of Trade and Investment that should be doing that, selling the attractiveness of the country's economy to foreign investors, and maybe supported by the Minister of Finance, who should come up with policy pronouncements on how the fiscal tools of the government, the budgetary tools, can be used as incentive to attract investors into the economy.
All right. I mean, Rotus, there you have it. Johnson Chukwu has said it all. The CBN should not be doing this. But how will the CBN not do this? Where is the Trade and Investment Minister? Is it the Trade and Investment Minister that didn't have data the other day when they were asking her about her ministry and say, where's the data? There's no data. Is it the trade and investment minister that did not have data that would be doing investment call? Will she even be able to articulate? And because you see, these are the problems, and that's why I see the CBN is burdened with doing almost everything. We're waiting for them. I just want to quickly make a quick correction. I think Alhaji Atiku Abubakar missed it on comparing Nigeria and Milei. It's not as hard as fast. Yes, Milei is making all the headlines. Milei is a populist. But in reality, most of those things are not working. I mean, the only probably ray of hope, which was expected, was the surplus. How will you not have a surplus when you have made all the major cuts? But in terms of what is happening on ground, poverty has increased. People can't buy cars. The hardship has increased, has tripled. There's been protests everywhere in Milei. So you see, we know populists like Milei. They do for a while. When the reality sets in on them, they fizzle out. And that might be what will happen to Milei. So Alhaji Atiku are trying to paint Milei as a shining light. I don't know what he's doing as regards that. No, I mean, that's not a good argument at all. That's not a good argument, because I saw the lengthy one. No. Maybe he's not following what's happening in Argentina. We are following what's happening in Argentina. That's not a good one. Concerning investments, you are seeing investment coming to Egypt and all of that. It's not by going on investment call by the CBN. Once your economy is exciting, people will bring money. Doesn't Egypt have all the crises we think of in the world?
Exactly, like Nigeria.
But people are bringing in money
issues,
because Egypt is viable.
Yeah.
It's the viability we should work on in Nigeria.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the UAE's investment, as Gaza was going to talk about, $35 billion to Egypt. The truth is that when it comes to the Middle Eastern countries, Egypt enjoys geographic proximity, and so enjoys that kind of relationship. This isn't the first. Also, some other things that have been cited, and I mention these things because you talked about the similarities in terms of the challenges that Egypt and Nigeria has. But you look at some of their regulations, especially in the fintech space, that has made it attractive for foreign investors to come in. We also look at obviously their growing economy, their tourism attraction. We're talking about the landscape of Egypt, for instance. So there are a number of things to make it attractive for investors to come. And that's what we've been pushing for in Nigeria as well. Make it attractive. And so when they talked about the role of the CBN, the role of the fintech space, so these are areas that we must look out for. And that's what I'm excited about. Hopefully, some of the announcements that would come in the next few days from the CBN, hopefully that would signal the right, give the right signal to investors to come into Nigeria despite our internal challenges.
Okay, a number of quick issues. Let's start with the Milei mania that is stretching from Donald Trump to Rotus in the studio here. And just to sound a note of caution, inflation in Argentina, even with what you are celebrating, is 254%. Milei is not able to pay salaries. They have serious issues. The list of the crisis in Argentina as of January 2024 has been provided by Ortega Ogra, one of the appointees of President Tinubu, responding to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, to say, sir, in a respectful manner, yes, you may say this has happened in Argentina, but here are the facts. And look at the facts and you see that you have made a wrong call. So Argentina, with 254% inflation rate, is not a country you will use to benchmark Nigeria. And I recommend to everybody to read that statement by Ortega Ogra. I think it's available online. That's number one. As for Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, well, I mean, there's so much excitement in the tech world at the moment, because of the excitement, enthusiasm over artificial intelligence. TSMC is one of those companies that benefited from NVIDIA doing very well, exceeding expectations. In fact, the value of NVIDIA now is over $2 trillion.
That's right.
$2 trillion. So there's a lot of enthusiasm in that sector. And it's not just NVIDIA that is doing well. Other, companies in high tech are doing very well. And TSMC, given the optimism that artificial intelligence is the future, even if there are some people saying, well, there is a problem there. Cleverly saying that, look, artificial intelligence is going to destroy democracy. But that's another subject. How artificial intelligence poses a threat to democracy. Now, you were talking about the London Stock Exchange, the FTSE. No, I don't think we should benchmark it in terms of salaries and say, leaders in the stock market in London are looking for big pay, like what they have on Wall Street. No, it's not the same market. The ecosystem is different. The work culture is different. If I were used to make this point when Michael Wilson was with us, that people are fleeing from the London Stock Exchange and that the city of London was going to lose its value as a major destination for listings. After all, when the major chip company in the UK was going to leave the London Stock Exchange, even the Prime Minister had to be begging them.
Yes.
And that's why we have seen, look, artificial intelligence, chip making is big business now. In the 1800s, the people who made money from the gold rush were not the people in charge of the assets. They were the people who provided the tools.
Right.
So these people who provided semiconductors, these people who provided chips, they are the ones making big money. And people will go, they will follow the money. Sorry. The money is in America. It's not in London. I mean, I know Michael Wilson, very patriotic.
Yes.
He will always defend, the interest of London and Britain. But we made the point at that time, repeatedly. Finally, AT&T collapsed on Thursday last week.
Yes.
Okay? But AT&T now is saying, okay, all the affected customers, they will pay them $5, a day to make up. I hope our own telecom companies are seeing that example. Because system is always failing in this place.
Network.
Calls are always dropping. You can't reach somebody. I think some of these networks, I don't want to mention anyone.
Right.
Mention.
No. I don't want to disturb anybody's business. But when any company fails us in Nigeria, I think we too were entitled to $5.
Exactly. At which exchange rate?
As compensation. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rotus.